All right, budget EDH time once again. Let's see who we're up against right here. Facing Mizzix of the Is Magnus. I've just been seeing this guy quite a bit. Definitely if you're into playing Storm combo decks, this guy is he's your man. Obviously in great colors for combo and Storm, and an insane enabler of all of the crazy sorceries and instants that allow you to churn the deck and do crazy ridiculous things. He's definitely way better than that 6 mana one that people used to play in this kind of a deck, the one that allows you to future sight sorceries off the top of your deck, or sorceries or instants. This guy's completely in a different class. Fortunately, he is a creature, and a relatively small one, so it's not too hard to disrupt the combo engine if you're able to do it in a timely manner. But once it starts to go off, often you just can't do anything, and certainly budget blue-black, not all that well equipped to deal with some of the stuff that the red-blue deck can do, especially if they draw a bunch of artifacts early. It really just comes down to whether or not they draw Soul Ring or Mana Crypt, because you just don't have very many ways to deal with it, short of bouncing it and countering it on the way back out, which is just terrible, of course. I have a really good hand, though. Terramorphic Expanse to go get black if I need it. 2 sources of blue. A couple of good counters, including the Mighty Negate, which is obviously MVP against a deck like Mizzix and Ponder, too. So this is an easy keep. He's going first. Scalding Tarn into Volcanic Island. The sum total of these 2 cards is probably exceeds the ticket value of my entire deck. Not that there's any particularly thing great about that, but it's just an interesting coincidence. All right, so recoil. All right, not bad. I'm playing the Terramorphic Expanse here, of course, because much better than Island into Ponder. I just need to get a source of black right now, especially now that I've drawn recoil. No reason to ponder. I don't even really have a game plan at this point. Ideally, we're going to just try to keep this guy out of play as long as possible. These blue-red decks almost always play with some form of permission, usually quite a bit. Certainly the usual suspects, Force Will, Mana Drain, usually some cheap counters like Mental Misstep and Spell Pierce and things like that. It just does nothing. Fortunately, does not have a turn 2 artifact, which is really handy. So I'm going to go get a Swamp. Dimir Guildgate. There's no reason to play that because I've got Sky Diamond in hand, so I'm going to do that instead. Alright, 3 mana. What could he be doing? Compulsive Research. Alright, well that's not too bad. Could certainly be something much worse like a Coalition Relic. It's really just going to come down to mana. Dralnu, like any permission deck that I tend to play, is really just about containment, so you have to just keep their mana sources under control to give your counters the most horsepower and ability to deal with one threat at a time. Aeon Chronicler. Now that is a very interesting card to draw. This guy I've been a fan of for a long time. He's really, really, really good at permission on permission matchups. Just the ability to tap out one turn, to deploy him, and then have him unsuspend into a huge threat that you can protect with counter magic is often really decisive. And the way that you beat this Mizzix deck, obviously, is you need to put it under a fair amount of pressure. And Dralnu is the opposite of a pressure deck. You don't exactly beat down with the commander. But this guy changes that whole equation. If I have a window where I can suspend this guy, even for 1 card, which is more than adequate, and God, maybe even hard cast him, although I don't see I would really have much of a reason for doing that. But if I can just get him into play, he may be able to just go the distance before the Mizzix guy can get all of his combos together, especially if I'm able to keep the general out of play. So the entire game is going to kind of coalesce around getting Chronicler going, which means getting more mana. I'm going to just play the Guildgate. I thought a little bit about casting Ponder to see if I could get a non-come into play tap land, which would allow me to not only develop my mana but also recoil at the end of turn, but I decided to just go with the safe play and sit on Void Shatter. Assuming right now, especially because, well, I have the recoil to stop his general if he plays it, but I'd prefer to counter it. Alright, he just says done, so I'm definitely going to recoil an island at the end of the turn here. Throws away Mystic Retrieval. Super powerful card in this kind of a deck. Dismiss. Okay. Well, as much as I'd like to just sit here on mana, that's not going to really further my game plan. It's just going to give him more time to draw combo pieces, and obviously his deck is probably more powerful than mine. with regards to mana artifacts, so I cannot just sit on my hands and wait on counterspells. You've got to be more proactive. So I'm going to go and, again, try to push this and Chronicler plan by getting more mana out to suspend it for at least one, because if I tap out, he may just play his guy, and if he does that, hopefully I draw some way to handle it. Let's see what the Ponder shows. Compass, Counterspell, Merchant's Call. I was really hoping to get a land here. Unfortunately, there are none of those there, so I'm going to just opt to reshuffle. As good as Counterspell is right now, I really just want mana, and I don't want to play Star Compass, because if I play Star Compass, I will have 5 mana next turn, but he plays his commander, and I don't have any counters or any way to interact with it right away, and that could easily be the game. If he untaps with 4 or 5 mana and play with this guy going, you can just lose. So we can't take that risk. Shuffling. And Black Sun Zenith. Well, it's not the best card. It's not a land, but it does at least give me an answer to the Mizzix. So we're just going to chill here. Kind of hope that he plays counter, or plays his creature, his general. Nothing going on. Bojuka Bog. That is timely, especially with the Mystic Retrieval in the graveyard. Just throw that out there. Alright, he's still waiting. He's at 8 cards. Discard. I wonder what's going on. When he throws away Command Beacon, I knew something went wrong, and sure enough, if you look up here, he says, blah, 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 skip that turn by accident, I'm new to this. Which definitely sucks. That's a shame that he accidentally skipped his turn. Probably would have affected the outcome a little bit at least. I'm sure he did not want to discard a land. That's too bad. Vault of Whispers, excellent. Alright, so now that he's at 4 mana, I'm faced with the question of do I play the Hellkite maybe? Do I play Chronicler? There's a lot of decisions here. And I could have suspended Chronicler for 2 there, which wouldn't have been terrible. But again, the fact that he discarded Command Beacon makes me feel like he probably does have more land in play. And the Hellkite, I think, is way too dangerous to play. Plus, if I walk into Mana Drain, which is very possible card for him to have, if I walk into Mana Drain and feed him something like Steel Hellkite, I would probably just lose the game instantly. So we can't even take the risk. I'm just going to sit on counters and hope that he makes the first move. Misty Rainforest, alright. Steam Vents. Gamble, interesting, okay. I'm going to certainly let that go, given that I can probably negate 100% of the cards he would ever fetch with Gamble. And that's what he got. So he discarded Tezzeret's Gambit, cast Mana Crypt. That is an easy negate target. It's obviously very satisfying to negate a card that your opponent gambled for. That is an awesome 2-for-1. Alright. So now he's got 4 mana in play. And I feel like this is probably just a frustration play. Him just casting the Mizzix at this point, after being so patient with it. And so, of course, he's walking it straight into Dismiss. And obviously, you might be asking, well, why would I use a counterspell when I've got Black Sun Zenith in my hand and I can deal with the creature that way? But this is totally about tempo. I definitely intend to do something next turn, or would like to, now that he's tapped out. So it's much more advantageous for me to play the Dismiss, even with a slightly less flexible card in hand, because drawing the card is really important. This is a pretty cumbersome counterspell anyway, and it guarantees that he's going to be pretty helpless for my next turn. Plus, I really want to draw an extra land to suspend the Chronicler for more turns. Sure enough, an island. Awesome. All right. So no consideration here, even though my graveyard's starting to look a little bit yummy. No plan whatsoever to cast the Dralnu yet, because casting Dralnu against a red deck with 5 cards in hand and potentially up to 6 mana next turn could be extremely dangerous, especially when I have no way to counter back. And experience has shown me that this decks tend to actually play some burn spells. So we're just going to do a full tap out to suspend. And you see I'm tapping out even with Void Shatter in hand, because this is just an estimation, a guess, that he doesn't have anything particularly proactive to do next turn to really punish me for this play. I think the worst case scenario would be something like Wheel of Fortune or maybe Time Spiral. And even one of those 2 cards would not be, I think, decisive yet. Time Spiral would obviously be much worse. And something like High Tide Time Spiral would be devastating. But for the time being, I think it's worth going for that opening. All right, he's got another land. This time it's Ancient Tomb. So he definitely, unless he was top decking like crazy, he had land in play, or in hand when he played the Command Beacon. Or when he discarded extra lands, I mean. Alright, Mizzix. Perfect. Alright then. First card, drawn off that guy. Very nice, Mystical Teachings. Decree of Pain. That's a punish card right there. You spend 6 mana on your general. I spend 5 mana and draw a card to destroy it. Pretty beautiful. And I've got Void Shatter mana as well. And now I'm just sitting on the Inevitable Chronicler. He just passes. Oh no, he doesn't. Sorry. Wow. 8 mana. Okay, what's going on here? Turnabout. Targeting him. Really difficult situation here. Obviously, I can counterspell this. But at the same time, if I don't counterspell it, he gets a total of, 8 more mana? So he's going to go all the way up to 12 mana. And remember what I said about containment? Well, containment becomes impossible when your opponent has 12 mana versus 4. So I figure if I counterspell here, and he doesn't have, well, maybe if he doesn't have a counterspell in hand, then maybe he'll just be stranded with the 4 mana floating and unable to do anything with it. Or if he does counter back, maybe his counterspell costs 3 mana, and whatever he was calculating on doing, he's unable to do it now. So I'm going to go with Memory Lapse here because I don't mind him drawing Turnabout next turn. Especially when I've got Mystical Teachings and the Void Shatter still, and I'm drawing 2 more cards. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I went with Void Shatter because it was just a more expensive card in my hand. A little less flexible. Unfortunately, one of his blue mana is spent on Flusterstorm, so there will be no countering back. And now we could be in some trouble. Some serious trouble. Alright, so Turnabout resolves. Generates 10 mana. Alright, well, do your worst. He only has 3 cards in hand. Spends 3 blue. Casts Blue Sun Zenith. I think that's for 1 card, actually. Yeah, for 1. 6 mana remaining. Mind's Desire. Alright. 4 Storm copies. Total of 5. Could be really, really ugly, or it could be innocuous. We'll find out. Alright, first card revealed. I think it's Island. Second card. Polluted Delta. Alright. Going well so far. Alright. That is Blue Sun Zenith. That's hilarious. He just cast that. Brainstorm. Alright. Alright, that's bad, but not that bad considering he has no mana. Come on, miss. Oh god, Mizzix Mastery. Wonderful. Exile target card that's an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. For each card exiled this way, copy it and you may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. Well, unfortunately he has Mind's Desire in the graveyard. So now we have serious problems. He brainstorms first. Casts a Zenith, obviously, to build Storm. Mizzix Mastery on Mind's Desire. Wow, alright. Well, this is Storm doing its thing. Now we've got, 9 copies of Mind's Desire on the stack? We got to get pretty damn lucky here. Alright, that's lucky. Bluffs. Fact or Fiction. It's bad, but not the end of the world. Faithless Looting. Alright. Stroke of Genius. Cool. An X spell. It doesn't do anything. High Tide. Not so good when you're tapped out. Cataxian Probe. Another card for him. Force of Will. Not relevant. Island. Wow. Alright. Well, he did hit Fact or Fiction and Faithless Looting, but nothing that allows this combo to continue. No Time Walks and nothing Time Spirally. So we are actually still in this. So he's going to probe me and see how silly my hand is. Cast Faithless Looting. Discards Helm of Awakening and Wheel of Fortune. God, which he also had as a backup, I assume, unless he got it off the Brainstorm. So it's Fact or Fiction here. Blue Sun Zenith shows up for the 3rd time. Alright, well, looking at this hand, Pyroblast is a little frightening. Obviously, Blue Sun Zenith is a big deal right now. So I need to separate the Zenith and the Pyroblast from each other. So we're just going to do that. We're going to give him an Island and Blue Sun Zenith over here and try to tempt him into taking the Seething Song chunk of his hand. Sorry, there's windows all over the place. That's what we go with. And he opts to finally let Blue Sun Zenith go to the graveyard. So, 7-card hand. He has more acceleration in his hand and a Pyroblast, but other than that, I don't know what else he can do, so he's just casting these cards just for the hell of it. Alright, suspend. Into the Royal, not too bad. Miscalc. Alright. Well, we're just gonna have to say done. I'm planning on just using Mystical Teachings here to try to fortify my position a little bit. Kind of again make him take the first move. Mana Vault, that's fine. Seething Song, alright. Well, casting Mizzix with only 4 mana available. I'm just gonna memory lapse that. This is an attempt to draw out his Pyroblast, which is all part of the master plan. I just need to get him low on mana so that he can't really follow up the Mizzix with anything of relevance. So he says done, end of turn. I'm going to Mystical Teachings. And we are going to go get Counterspell. And I thought for a long while about what I wanted to get here, but I decided that I just needed a hard counter that was as cheap as possible. I'm really in a fragile board state right here, and it's really important he doesn't resolve another big card drawing spell. Oh, okay. Well, I'm actually just going to counter the Mizzix, I guess. So this is a curious play. I'm wondering, I guess I did this because I felt that with 3 mana available, he still might have the ability to follow up Mizzix with some other stuff that would start to build experience counters. So this is basically just me saying to him, you're not going to ever get Mizzix out or get any experience counters because I'm confident enough in the rest of my hand, especially with the Mystical Teachings. Look at that. He actually countered back. And I think that was also my hope, was that he had another counterspell in hand and he would fight over the Mizzix, assuming that I didn't have any removal in hand, when in fact I have Black Sun Zenith the entire time. So that play, that setup play worked quite well. I assure you that was my thinking when I made it. Alright. Big Papa coming out. Thirst for Knowledge, really nice. Alright. Very nice. I'm going to smash for 6 here. So now I have him on a real clock. And as painful as this is to do, I decide I'm going to just throw some counters on my Aeon Chronicler to get his guy off the board. So now his guy costs, I think, 10 mana. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So barring untapping the Mana Vault, he doesn't have access to his general. I'm holding the Thought Vessel here rather than playing it because I want to thirst and throw away the Thought Vessel if I get something else that's more meaningful. So untap the Vault. He's casting Intuition. There's a lot of neat decisions this game to make. Increasing Vengeance, Capture of Jinzhou, and Recoup. So what do you let him have here? Fork, Time Walk, Regrowth. I ultimately decide that I want him to have the Time Walk because I figure that he might actually just tap out to do it, in which case I can Miscalculation, which will feel quite nice. But he doesn't do anything, which is good discipline. Thirst for Knowledge, right, well, I'm going to throw away the crappy Cold Steel Heart, given that it's worse than Star Compass, and certainly worse than Thought Vessel. Alright. Aeon Chronicler, still a 5/5. Bash. Alright, he's down to 4 cards in hand. So I'm going to Merchant Scroll here. And now I get the obvious choice, Forbid. So with Forbid mana up, and enough mana to Forbid twice, as well as a very, very palpable clock, and him only having 4 cards in hand, I'm feeling pretty confident here. And he ends his turn. Obviously Terrified of the Forbid, which gives me a window to flashback Mystical Teachings. I'm going to get Muddle the Mixture, just to have even more counter defense. It also adds a card to Aeon Chronicler, who's now 6/6. Smash, he's down to 7. And I just throw away my Star Compass. I don't feel that there's any reason to tap out to do anything. Given the way that my mana works out, I have exactly, I think, 9 mana in play. And that's enough mana to Forbid twice, and Muddle or Forbid, Muddle, and Mana Leak. And on his turn, just recognizing how many counters I have available and the fact that he's going to die to this guy in a turn or two, my opponent packs it in. Thought it was a very cool game, dealing with all of that combo-y nastiness in the middle of it. At some point in the match, I think he he was griping at the end and saying something to the effect of that I never even let him play the game, which I thought was a little hilarious given the fact that he's playing a completely goldfishy combo deck with his own counter spells that will absolutely massacre someone that just sits there and lets him do whatever the hell he wants. So I had the temerity to use counter spells to try to stop him from doing what he was doing, which I guess he felt was unsportsmanlike, because a one-turn kill with Mind's Desire and probably a mass unsummon card like Temporal Fissure or whatever is completely fair and ethical. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that game. I will hopefully have more worthy games to come. See you soon.